Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Jason Tucker, and this is WP Watercooler, episode number 239. Today's topic is cleaning your WordPress dashboard of notifications. Let's go around the room real quick, get everyone introduced. George, you are first in the alphabet. It is your turn.
I'm George. I work on Jetpack. I like building shiny things, and I just got back from speaking at WordCamp Kyoto, which was a hell of a lot of fun.
Awesome. Good to have you back. How about you, John?
Konnichiwa.
Hey, I'm John Brown. I run a little agency called Nine Seeds while being a full-time digital nomad traveling the globe. Just at WordCamp Europe 2 weeks ago in Paris, and now calling in from Spain.
Sweet.
Wow. Man.
Awesome job, John. How about you, Russ?
My name is Russ. I do WordPress stuff in Las Vegas. I work for a company called WebDev, and I do WordPress support, so I see notifications all day long, and I'm stoked that we're talking about this.
Sweet.
Sorry for all those people that don't know what stoked means. It basically means cool.
It's wicked cool, brah.
Excited. It means
That's
excited.
awesome.
Okay.
How about you, Sarah?
I never knew what stoked meant.
Hello, I'm Sarah Wefald. I'm the project manager at Zeek Interactive, and since I mainly interface with all of our clients, I too am also #stoked to talk about notifications.
Hashtag WP stoked.
Start a thing. Say, how about you?
Oh, hey, I'm Say Reed, and I make WordPress, teach WordPress, at Say Reed Media on all the things. I am also #stoked because I also see all those dirty dashboards.
#stoked is already trending.
And you're totally going to throw everybody off, Say, because the number on your board is like many days ago.
I've been gone. I was on my honeymoon.
How about while I introduce myself, you could update that real quick. My name is Jason Tucker. You can find me over at Jason Tucker on Twitter, and my website is jasontucker.blog. And we do a bunch of shows on WP Watercooler. You can go over to WPwatercooler.com and check out all the shows that we have from there. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the dashboard. And, you know, when we were talking about this earlier in the week, we're trying to figure out how this topic was going to work. And so I showed a screenshot of my iPhone and how many little red dots there were all over the place. And
we cried.
You know, yeah, and see, my wife on the other, my wife looks at that and she goes, I couldn't do that. Like, I need to have all those notifications turned off. Like, all those things that have to open those apps every 5 minutes.
I thought your phone had chickenpox.
Right, exactly.
That's the thing. If all notifications are on, are any notifications on?
When everybody's special, no one is.
I don't know. That's like a conundrum for the ages. I think Socrates tackled that one.
I think we all can agree that CNN's notifications have been turned off at this point.
That's true. They have. They're gone. But okay, not phones. Back to the web.
Yeah. But
Let's
even
talk
on
about Inbox Zero. Just kidding. Let's not talk about that ever.
Right.
Yeah, when you go into the dashboard, you look at it and you see all these little dots next to everything, indicating that there's stuff that's in there. You have 9,000 comments. Why haven't you? Oh wait, they're all spam. Oh, there's this thing for something else. So Yoast wants to tell you about this new article that they wrote. That's not really a notification, but they're going to tell you about it. There's a big mix of these things all over the place. And
you need to differentiate between Yoast notifications, sidebar dashboard notifications of updates, and crazy top of screen yelling.
Well,
I just want to make a comment in general.
Yeah, go for it, Sarah.
So the notification as a concept, when we're just talking about user experience, the way that the user interacts with whatever product they're using, whether it's a mobile app, website, what have you, it's become more and more popular because it has made things so much easier. It's like, instead of having to go somewhere and find out like, oh, this thing is way out of date, or I missed like 1,000 updates, it will just tell you. And it's nice to just have someone come to you and be like, hey, here's the information. But what I think nobody planned for when all of this stuff was, a little bit more in its nascent stage, maybe a few years ago, is that everyone is going to have a notification. Everyone is going to have about 1,000 notifications. And there's been no real sort of standard or set of guidelines, I guess, put forth on what is the sane way to handle any of these.
Right. That's totally unlike the rest of The
So-
word.
so-
Yeah, and at this point, it's insanity. When I heard about this topic, I got excited because literally yesterday I logged into the site, and there were so many notifications that the actual content of the admin was below the fold.
yeah. And this
I want
seems
you to fathom that because like the events calendar for Modern Tribe had this giant thing with a goat on it that said like your license key is out of installs, update this. And then like Jetpack was telling me I'm gonna die if I don't back up with WordPress. And then like something else needed updating, and then like reCAPTCHA needed some, like I needed to upgrade to Pro, and it's like they aren't
somebody
even like
wanted to cut
useful
the
admin notices at this point.
John, you're missing one thing. You totally forgot when you updated a plugin. It says, "Hey, please go rate us and review us on the WordPress repo. Here's a link."
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
buy me a cup of coffee. That one's fun.
So, and I feel like this is the sort of thing that you see, and I mean, no offense to all of the developers out there and on this show right now, but this is kind of what happens when you leave certain design elements up to developers, or you leave certain design elements up to the requirement
Marketers.
of marketers and people like that. So
The thing is that people are not thinking about their product in the context of the actual dashboard. A lot of developers, a lot of products, these plugins, themes, whatever, they think about their product in a silo. So they're not like, what's the experience of my my user within the WordPress admin and all the other things that are going on in there. It's basically like they don't care. It's like Updraft has just decided to make the biggest notification panel that they could. And I think it's become almost a competition for who can basically blast the largest thing out there. Completely unnecessarily, completely not taking into consideration the fact that the users both usually ignore those and certainly don't read like whole chunks of text that's up there.
Oh, I know the users ignore them because as an admin and a developer who goes into client sites all day long, like I go in and I'm like, I don't understand. These notices have been here for like 4 weeks.
Well,
4 weeks.
wait.
And I actually ask clients and they're like, well, we don't know what to do with them.
It's actually very important to know that those notices come up on every admin screen. So even though, John, if you and me are an admin on both sites, if you clear yours, it still comes up for me. So you might have cleared it for yourself, but it's still for me. Well, sure. But properly done, it should be cleared across every user. But some plugins, they use that hook and they let people just go crazy with it, and it will pop up for every person who logs into the WP admin.
Well, going crazy with that hook is where Say was saying is that at this point, like it's the Wild West, right? And there's no control over it. I wish there was, but there's really no practical way to enforce it, right? Like we say like best practices that, your advertising banner type stuff in your plugin shows up only on your own settings pages, but you still see people do it site-wide. That these notifications are only targeted where they're relevant. But it's just, there's no way to enforce that.
I think Sarah said it well, where there's not a standard for notifications, right? Like I could get behind a movement that says like, hey, let's show a notification if your license key is going to expire. I could get behind that, but like I don't need to know that the change log was updated. If I want to read the change log, I'll go read the plugin or something, or I'll click around there. I don't need a notification for everything. So I think that standard kind of needs to be set to say, if you're going to use a notification, here's kind of a best way to do that.
Well, there's a problem with that I want to talk about, but I also wanted to point out that this used to be much more of a problem with just free themes or free plugins, and they would pop all that stuff up because in my mind it was kind of validated in the fact that we weren't paying for it, so you get the ads, right? That's like the trade-off. But this week I was on a client site who has a paid Gravity Forms subscription. And the notification that popped up it said, there's an update available for Gravity Forms. And I was like, hey guys, there's a spot for that already. Why am I getting another notification on the top of the screen to tell me there's an update in addition to the other notification? Like that one was gratuitous. And I was actually really kind of disappointed in Gravity Forms because I kind of expect better from them. I kind of expect them not to just crowd out the screen with another, like, thanks for the update. Like, okay.
500 points to say for using the word gratuitous, because I totally agree. I think it's unnecessary to like have something as a dual notification. Like, I get
that's just rude. It's just obnoxious and messy.
So,
Like, what is it? Like, so the person clicks that button that says dismiss this notice, and the other notification's still up there, and it's just like, what are we even doing here?
So what do we do to fix it? That's the thing. Like, what do we do to fix it? But before we get into how to fix it, how are developers actually putting this stuff on there? And you know, George mentioned that there was a way that developers should be doing it so that when someone clears it, the poor intern that you have logging into the dashboard doesn't see 9,000 of them, almost like those bars that used to be in Internet Explorer back in the day, and you had every search bar for every search company that was around. So, George, what's the way that developers should be looking at this and doing it?
Some notifications should be per user, and you clear it, and then it's only cleared for that user. Like if you're giving someone a heads up of a new feature, just because they have a heads up doesn't mean that all 50 other admins don't need to be warned about some pending change or something.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's something that's just, by the way, this code needs an update, or you haven't your subscription license key is out of date, that's just let everyone know, and then once it's fixed, it's gone and out of the way. So, I mean, you just need to be considerate of which way you're actually doing it. That being said, it would be lovely if there was a consistent notification interface that all different plugins could just like drop their own content into. Like Jetpack.
Only there was a worldwide service that had a notification that we could emulate.
I know.
I don't know. I can't imagine how that would work.
So, why? Thank you for
Hashtag
saying such an obvious drop of hand. But Jetpack has notifications, but it's more of notification by WordPress.com account. So, like, if you have 50 sites tied into your WordPress.com account, and someone leaves a comment on one of your sites, you'll get a notification in the notifications bar no matter which site you're on. And I think there's an extensible filter where individual sites can add their own stuff while you're on that individual site. But I could be wrong on that. I'm not actually looking into it closely. So but it'd be cool if we could.
Jetpack is highly non-exempt from this as a problem, because the latest thing that Jetpack has been doing over the past couple of months is prompting users, which let me tell you is the most confusing thing ever. They're like, hey, use your WordPress.com credentials to sign in. And then the users are like, huh? Because I thought it was Jetpack. Oh, wait, WordPress.com? I thought I had my WordPress, because they all call their websites their WordPress. So now Jetpack is telling them to use their WordPress credentials to log in instead of their WordPress credentials to log in. And the users are like, and then they just, that type of non-understanding of what is happening in the notification, that is, I think, the reason that users ignore the notifications. They don't make any sense to them.
So do we think that if we were to set up the site for someone who isn't all that familiar with stuff, that being able to essentially kind of hijack that admin notifications hook and say, hey, or admin notices hook and say, hey, don't display this for grandma who's trying to update her cat blog. She doesn't need to see all these things. Is that, I mean, how do we go about that then?
I would love to see that as either some kind of feature plugin to be rolled in the core, or something to where we can, John Hawkins has this plugin, it's called CC Devs, and you can actually put in another email address, and it will say, instead of using like this email address, send all the notifications to this other thing for like, you know, spam comments and stuff. I would like to see something that just says, you know, hey, like per this site, only show notifications for this user. I would love to see that.
Make a lot of sense. It just could be a really easy toggle on the user profile, like don't show admin notifications. Done.
Right, or some kind of main setting that says only show for this one global thing. Yeah, you know, I would, instead of like having a UI and a screen where we need to have everything, like if we could just limit it to one person, I think that would be a huge improvement.
Yeah, I think that all of the developers want their product and want that notification to be seen by everyone on the thing, because it's really a form of marketing. It's not just notification.
I'm glad you said that, because notifications should not be used as marketing. It should not be like, hey, by the way, you know, save 10% off by, you know, doing this whatever, or hey, we know you're using the light version, upgrade to the pro. we know there's a pro because we see your ad in the sidebar and all your options pages. Like, we get it. I don't need more marketing at the top.
Yeah, see, on the iPhone, the iPhones has two different types of notifications. You have a local notification that the app sends to the notification on the phone and says, "Hey, you just walked 10,000 steps, congratulations," or something like that. Then you have the notifications that are coming from outside that Apple's actually sending to your phone, and those notifications, could be filtered if they ended up doing something like that, but the main piece to it is that they're not supposed to be sending. There's actually like rules that have been set that say, don't send these things that say, hey, go make sure you update the app, make sure you make changes to it. Hey, we have this
or we have a sale or something.
Right. So, I don't know what the answer is, other than we need a spam cop that sits in between it and just says, hey, if grandma's, running this website, she shouldn't be seeing these notifications, and kind of make sure that they don't show up. I don't know.
Well,
honestly, I think that the notifications do not belong on the main screen of the dashboard. I don't think they should be taking over that real estate. I think that it's intrusive. I think that it's disruptive to the workflow for the clients. If they were, there is notifications for updates that exist. They're the little red dots. That stuff already exists. So taking over the dashboard is just kind of aggressive. Almost. It's like in your face and forcing you to look at it, which I think is really disruptive.
It's a really good point that it's disruptive. And I kind of agree. It's like I said, when I logged in and like literally the content was below the fold, there was some admin notices. I seem to remember seeing a ticket on track to do something about it. I thought maybe Joost de Valk started it, but I could be wrong. But the idea is to put like a little notification center, like you have on iOS or something else, where like the notices just went away, and then you could go deal with them at some later date and kind of go through them all one by one and dismiss them. But I think that it is a problem to show them on all admin pages all the time. There's almost nothing that is that important that it warrants showing on all admin pages all the time.
I believe there are some plugin repo guidelines about that, just like if displaying on everything.
But how do you make those enforced, though? It's not like you can slap the hand of the open source developer and say, you're not allowed to do open sourcey things on our open source development platform. Smack, smack, smack.
No, but they can delist it from the .org plugin repository. Sorry.
Yeah, but where's the delete button, I guess, is the thing, I just don't know how you would approach it.
What do you think, Sarah?
I think what it sounds like we need is just usability standards here, because there are times where people are going to want notifications on their admin screen. Like if there's a plugin that they're dependent upon that they need to find out if something has something going on with it, they may want that on their admin screen. I think what it sounds like we're lacking is just control over the notification experience on a per user basis, and also having a centralized place. Because like if you think about just ye olde iPhone, right? You can swipe down from the top and see all of your recent notifications. You've got some that just show up on your lock screen. You've got some that like pop up and you have to actually click off in order to make them go away. And you can choose on an extremely granular level which ones do which.
Yeah, we have none of those controls, and I think implementing some of those controls would be good. But even something like a standardized meta box on the screen where those notifications showed up in a a line form instead of here's a logo and the formatting that we thought was great and 12 links to click. So some sort of standardization within that appearance would be, I think, necessary in order to accomplish that.
I actually like that idea, so it's like when you go into like edit a post, like there's that screen editor and you can see like all the custom links or the custom fields, and like you can add those meta boxes underneath the content. I actually wouldn't mind that if I could like turn that on or turn that off, like per post or page or whatever. I wouldn't actually mind that.
Yeah, it
or
seems
even
like
attached to roles. So like if the role had a definition in there that was allowed to see these notifications or something like that, that might even be another way to kind of leverage it. Because like really, like the person who's just going to be writing a blog post on the site can't do anything anyhow because the rule's not going to allow them to go in there and update any of the information that they need to anyhow. So I don't know.
I mean, this is definitely a conversation that, is kind of ongoing, but it was sparked mostly this week for us, I think, by the tweet by Brian Krogsgaard, Brian K, who was tweeting about, screenshots of the site he logged into that had just crazy madness notifications. And there was some talk of creating that track. Everyone's like, wait, why don't we have notifications again? So there was some talk of creating another track ticket, or, bringing back the track ticket that had kind of fallen off. So I think that there is some potential for this to get some attention. So if people have opinions about it, we will totally find that track thing and maybe put them in the show notes so that people can participate. Otherwise, it might get pushed to 5.2 or whatever at some point.
John, was that the same ticket you were talking about?
Yeah, I think it was. I was looking for the track ticket. I'm having trouble finding it. So, it's the idea of having some kind of a notification center. And I think it's really interesting what Sarah said about how iOS handles it. There are different levels of notifications, but then ultimately the user can set whether it's a blocking notification or not. But I mean, currently the way WordPress is, could you imagine using your iPhone if all those notifications stayed up and just couldn't be dismissed, or
yeah, or if it wasn't clear
on your phone.
And some of those pop up the second time you log in, even after you dismiss them. You literally have to dismiss them every time you log in to the site, which is,
or they show up after.
I don't even know what that is at that point.
Well, on my iPhone, when I wake up in the morning, notifications will show up because of the fact that it knows that that I'm awake. The phone knows, oh, I've been picked up and moved. Things are actually happening in here. Oh, maybe we should start sending the notifications to him so he'll see them. And they're all the local notifications that apps are in the background are saying, hey, Jason, you did 5,000 steps yesterday, and oh, you did this and this, and oh, you did this. It's kind of updating you with all the stuff.
I mean, I essentially would like to see some kind of option inside of a plugin that would just say, would you like to see any notifications from this or none, right? Because, I mean, I think there are some exceptions, like anything that comes up with this plugin that I'm using that's, imperative to my business, I want to be updated about it, whether it's EDD or something. But for all the other plugins, I would, turn this off. I don't care about, whatever Next Gen Gallery has to say. Don't care. You know what I mean? I would like some kind of setting inside that plugin to let me toggle that, or just like we were talking earlier, some kind of master switch, right? Turn off all notifications and then I'll turn them on when I'm ready.
Yeah.
Or I'll turn them on in my staging site and not on production. You know what I mean? Let me keep the production user interface clean, but my staging site, that's where I'll go get all my notifications, because that's where I do my development anyways.
What's weird is that the dashboard, in the plugin repo, there's so many different plugins that are essentially dequeuing or removing some of the things that are set up for, you look in there and there's ones for Yoast. It's oh, you want to make sure Yoast never says anything? Here's how I do this, and it just turns off all Yoast stuff. And so it's we've come up with the antivirus type thing for this, instead of just coming up with a way to say, hey, we don't want these things to show up on a per user basis.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Don't give me a code that I have to put in my functions PHP file, because I'm going to switch themes in 20 minutes. Just make that some kind of feature inside your plugin. Oh, I mean, maybe that's a reason why I would buy the pro version. I don't need a notification to buy the pro version, but give me some kind of alternative to buy the pro version.
So I mean, there's two main things. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, speaking of Yoast has implemented a notification. Their SEO notifications appear in the top bar, in the admin bar, and they light up when you got a little thing. Even though their notifications are often gratuitous as well, they're just hey, there's a thing, you should check this page. It's not like an emergency notification, but at the very least, they're not on every page. They're just right up there, and it draws your attention. I'm not advocating that every plugin should pop an icon in the admin bar, because obviously that would really quickly get out of hand. But the fact that if everyone decided to do that, it would get out of hand is a reason that I think we need some sort of combined space. Because what's happening now is all of these different developers have different solutions, and they're all being implemented on a single dashboard. And there is no way, even for just your average user, or even a slightly, above average user, they have to check a bunch of different places to get the notification. Or if they see their notifications on their main admin, like the Gravity Forms update, and then they don't see notifications from other plugins or products that say the same thing, they're not being then trained to go look in the updates, because they're all right there in their face. So the ones that are kind of playing nicely, or at least more cleanly, don't get the attention because everything else is right here in your face, and then that's what users come to expect.
I would even settle for some kind of JavaScript solution to say, clear all notifications. Like it's fine that you're going to show me 200 when I log in, but give me one chance to clear all of them and not just have to clear each one individually. I mean, I know it's hard to do and it's going to be a little bit of planning, but I mean, I think that would be a better solution than just, again, hog this real estate or, put it at the top of every site.
Yeah. I
What
mean,
were you gonna say, George?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm thinking like the main issue is, developers need a way to actually give notifications to the users.
Yes.
And if we're going to have a way of consolidating and simplifying that, we need to provide an incentive and an easier way for them to do it, to stop them from just puking it all over the dashboard, which there's no real way to prevent. So I think, if we had a centralized notification drop down on the WordPress admin bar that every plugin could just have a standard way to register notifications to, that would probably be enough to get most developers to switch over and say, hey, cool, here's the way to do it. And I can register it as for one user, for all users, and any can dismiss, for all users and each needs to dismiss, based on capability, or for who gets to see the notification. And I think that's something that there's a lot of room, and there would probably be a lot of interest for a core feature plugin to do if we had anyone interested and willing to build it out.
I think that the pushback you would get from developers would be that marketing angle, because the freemium versions of plugins and themes, that basically I feel like they consider that to be their marketing. They consider that to be, where they're getting their upsells. And so, I think
they can add items to the notification menu. Boom.
Right. Yeah, like I think it would be fine. And as a user, I'd be much more inclined to actually look at that, read that. And then, of course, you could have the actual visual notifications on the actual plugin page or the plugin settings page. You go there and it's like, hey, here's all your marketing stuff. Great. But it's not interfering with the overall user experience, the workflow, the productivity, which it looks bad. It looks messy. It gives WordPress a bad name. People don't understand it. So they don't, like what you said, John, they don't know what to do with it. So they just leave it there. That's bad UX. That's just.
So it sounds like we need maybe someone on the core, whether, I don't know, it could be the marketing subcommittee or another committee, to come up with a list of guidelines for how to handle this, and some infrastructure changes to the dashboard, perhaps.
Yeah. Sounds like it. That's about it. It's 11:30. What? What'd you have to say?
4.9? 4.9?
Oh.
Time flies.
Exactly. Well, that's
Time
it, folks.
flies when you're
Thank
bitching
you
and
for
complaining.
checking out the show today. I really appreciate it. If you like this particular episode, go over to our website and click on the little thumbs up buttons to let everybody know that you enjoyed it. If you want to subscribe to this stuff, you can totally subscribe to it. You can go over to WPwatercooler.com/subscribe. There's all the subscribe buttons there for both audio podcasts as well as video stuff. So that's about it. Thank you very much for being on the show, all of you, and talk to you all later. Bye-bye.
Woo!